tip of the hippocampal gyrus. Right behind it is the beginning of that C that's going to go this way. And so my thumb would be right nudged in that hippocampal gyrus. As it turns out, that hippocampus is going to be in the lateral ventricle. And so to get to it, I just start to shave to open up the ventricle. So let's see what we can do. Oops, sorry. Look at all this cortex. I mean, sheep are as dumb as the day is long. And so I don't know why there's so much cortex.
Maybe there's a lot going on, they just can't express themselves.
They're misunderstood.
Exactly. They need a sheep whisperer.
Your cat doesn't
Like
have
Caesar.
cortex.
Caesar, that's what they need.
A rat has a smooth cortex. It doesn't have that much cortex to even have convolutions, and yet a rat can outmaneuver. I'm doing this very slowly because I don't want to nick the tip of the hippocampus. There we go. Just do it on one hemisphere. That's this one. Smokes. It's getting me hungry.
I know, you're a chef, you can tell by the way you're handling that knife.
So now, we're getting closer and closer to a lateral ventricle opening up. I mean, it's getting a little light here. And so I want to not take my thumb off. Really nice. There's the first opening of that lateral ventricle. Right, so I'll be a little bit more aggressive now. And here is the tip on this side of the hippocampus. There's the tippy top of the hippocampus.
Wow.
All right? And so this is the lateral ventricle. So now we can follow this a little closer on this side.
It looks like the caudate in that sagittal view.
We'll see the caudate when we get to it.
Peeking out like that.
Well, the caudate wouldn't be this far back because the caudate's in the front.
Right. I'm just saying it
So
looks
here's
like it.
here's the tops of the hippocampus. All right. So now let's follow this. We can follow it. The euphemism is a blunt dissection, which typically means you tear it. So let's take off. Let's take off this much on this side. There's the back of the hippocampus. You see, you're starting to see the shape of it now. That means we can take off this back and now what I shall do is now we can start opening up into it.
So are they two different structures, or do they come together?
There's a
into
hippocampus
one?
on both sides.
Oh,
And
okay.
so you'll see.
That's really cool.
So now, let's start some shaving.
Be kind to it. Look, it's right there. That's so cool. So that corpus callosum is going to have to come in contact with both of them, right?
No, now think back
How
on
does it
your
communicate?
now think back on that midline sagittal.
Fibers.
The midline sagittal You had the corpus callosum, and then the fornix is underneath it.
Okay.
So it's not going to communicate via the fornix.
It's the fibers on either side, isn't it?
Well, see, there's a special hippocampal commissure. This is this pesky
Nice.
corpus callosum that is driving me crazy here. Okay. So now, let's get out from under here. And now we can cut and burn.
And what are you putting out right now?
Corpus callosum. And so, where did I put this guy? This is the butt side of the corpus callosum. You can
The
almost, if you
texture.
play with the light, you can see fibers going this way.
Yeah.
During development, there are glial cells that form like a ladder. So there's the bottom side of corpus callosum. If I get rid of this choroid plexus in here,
So the developing neurons are migrating?
they'll use
Along
that.
that ladder?
They'll use that ladder. No, that's the skeleton of the ladder. That scaffold appears early in development and then dies off as soon as.
They've used it.
Yep. And so, this. I'm surrounded by this gunk.
It was an alcoholic sheet.
This is the hippocampus. That structure there. So this is the hippocampus on this side, and we'll start to peel away hippocampus on that side. And those are the fibers as it's traveling around to get to the mammillary bodies on this end. So it goes from here, so it goes from here, from that hippocampal gyrus, swings around this way on midline, goes down, and splits to the mammillary bodies in the hypothalamus. So let me clear this field.
Yeah.
And if we look at, so let me put this down like this, and then those that want to.
Yeah, I want some.
So this is hippocampus. Notice, so that's hippocampus and this is hippocampus. If you look at it from this point, from where I'm sitting, and I'm going to turn it now. If you turn it this way, it kind of looks like a ram, doesn't it? And so the hippocampus is, the sections of the hippocampus are noted as CA, the cornu ammonis, which stands for the ram's horn, because it has that appearance. So let me finish. Now, look on this side.
That's what I want a picture of.
Notice this structure in front. Notice these structures are becoming prominent. That's caudate. All right. Now remember, so caudate all the way back there. Caudate is going to be, think of that midline sagittal. You have the thalamus in the middle, and then you have caudate that's going to be here. It's going to be literally coming up and out of the way of thalamus, because thalamus is going to be a midline structure. So you have caudate, huge structure, thalamus, huge structure, going out of the way, and hippocampus out here. These are the big players in terms of structure. just size. So let's continue forward. Let's go this way and say, okay, so let's get rid of this frontal cortex. But the sheep is going to miss it. More cut. And one more cut. And now we're looking at the lateral ventricle from the front side. That's the head of the caudate. This is the caudate, and it's off of midline. You didn't see it on a midline cut. You had to look into the ventricle to see the caudate, the head of the caudate. So here's the head of the caudate. This is still corpus callosum. And so here's the ventricle. Let's just take that out.
He doesn't need that ventricle.
Not now.
Yeah.
Now look at that caudate.
Wow.
So there's the caudate. Almost
And
looks
the
like
tail
a-
gets smaller.
And the tail gets
Look at
smaller and
that.
out of the way because what's underneath here? The thalamus.
The big
That
thalamus.
midline structure. So caudate, and it's off of center, so it's not a parallel cut here. So there's the head of the caudate. There's that body and the tail of the caudate. Here are the fibers of the hippocampus. I nicked it on this side. The hippocampus is actually wrapped with fibers. And so if you separate this just a little bit, you can see that the fibers of the fornix. That's what's wrapping around. Yeah, hold it up this way.
Yeah. It's hard to film one because I really want to look with my eyes, not filming it. That's really
So
cool.
this is what's sitting underneath the corpus callosum on that midline sagittal. So you have corpus callosum and then fornix on this side. And that fornix is going like this. All right, so I'll just leave this here and then you guys can take a shot at that. Here is, look at this cut. This was just fortunate, but here is, I should hold it with the forceps.
Butterfly.